Coming up on today's Locked On Senators, Thomas Chabot will return on Friday. Who's coming out on the Senators' blue line?
And we have a SensCentral Citizen. It's Scott all the way from Victoria, BC. He tells us how he became a Sens fan and some of his favorite nostalgic memories.
And the Atlantic Division has added Patrick Kane. We'll discuss all that and more on today's edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Jake Sanderson, and you're listening to Locked On Senators podcast.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Welcome inside episode 927 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. You can follow the show on social media. We're at SensCentral on Twitter, LockedOn.Senators on Instagram. The show is free and available on all podcast platforms, including on YouTube, where a like, comment, and subscription go a long way to helping the show grow. Today's comment, we want to know who comes out on the Senators' blue line in Thomas Chabot's appearance on Friday in Columbus. We got to let you know today's episode is brought to you by the Game Time app. I used the Game Time app yesterday. It was unbelievably easy. 2 taps, bang, just by downloading the Game Time app, creating an account, and using code LOCKEDONNHL. And you can get $20 off your first ticket purchase. Today is Wednesday, November 29th, and Pilsy, the Detroit Red Wings have added Patrick Kane. We'll get to that conversation after our Citizen, but with Thomas Chabot coming back into the lineup, I know you want him on the left side.
Yes.
But who are you playing him with on Friday in Columbus?
Well, I think we already talked about this a while ago, so I'm going to stick to what I said before. How I want the decor to look when Thomas Chabot returns on Friday. He's coming back. I feel good. I feel good about it. I want the top pair, Sanderson Zub. Don't mess around. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Sanderson Zub, keep that pair together. Then I'm going to get Thomas Chabot on the left with JBD on the right. And then Jacob Chychrun on the left with Eric Brandstrom on the right. Now, if you've done your math, you're saying, okay, who did you take out there? Travis Hamonic. Take a seat. Watch a game or two or a few from up top. Take a seat. We're going to take a look at how this decor looks without you for the first time in quite a while.
And in terms of Travis Hamonic being the odd man out, it's how we wanted him being used in the first place. I know we've been kind of touted as a pro-Travis Hamonic podcast, and I think in a certain situation, there is a level of value with the penalty killing and physicality that he can bring. Absolute offensive weapon. I say a bit tongue-in-cheek, but he needs to be in the Nick Holden position that Holden was in the last couple of years, where he played, 40 to 50 games, never on the top 4. And that's where Travis Hamonic is in his career. It's been a great career, over 800 games played, but he doesn't need to be trotted out night in, night out. He got walked in the second period on the third goal when they were shorthanded there after the offside. Is it offside? Is it not offside? That whole shenanigans. But I'm with you with that. And you know what? Jacob Chychrun, the offense was fast and furious at the start of the season. That's really dwindled down over the last little while. I get that you want to have him in a position to succeed, but I also think based on his performance over the last 5-6 games, I also see this as a bit of accountability for Jacob Chychrun, for a guy who, had such a great start, but defensively, he's just looked a little lost basically since that Toronto game, right? That's a perfect split in his season, where in the last 6 games, Chychrun has only 1 assist and he's -6 in those 6 appearances, has 16 shots on goal. He's still ripping the puck, had 7 shots against Vancouver alone. But I think that as a level of accountability, you could make the argument that that's why Jacob Chychrun should be out of the lineup. Jacob Chychrun had 11 points in his first 11 games and was +9, +6 if you look at the first 12. He was -3 in the opener against Carolina. But I think that you're right. This should be Jacob Chychrun taking the step back for Thomas Chabot to come in. And it doesn't have to be for long. Heck, it could be a couple periods or even one. But I think that you're onto something there with him, and him and Brandstrom have worked in short periods of time in the past as well.
Yeah, last season, Ross, when they were together, they were one of the best Corsi 4 percentage pairs on the entire team. So I'd like to give that a try. And I'd like to get it to a point where DJ Smith and the rest of the coaching staff feels comfortable rolling all three pairs so that Jake Sanderson or Thomas Chabot don't need to play 28 minutes a night consistently. So I think that's a way you could spread out kind of the talent, have that left side, strong side. And I'd like to see how it works at least.
Guy Boucher just went crazy. The left side lock, is it coming back? No, but honestly, that I think gives Ottawa the best chance at immediate success right now. And we mentioned the time on ice. Credit to Natural Stat Trick for this one, but Jacob Chychrun playing alongside Eric Brandstrom. It's happened for 33 minutes, and during that time, the expected goals percentage scored on the ice 61%. High danger chances favor Ottawa during that stretch, and a lot of good things. And the on-ice save percentage isn't, exceptionally high. It's not that type of situation. A 909 save percentage when those two are together. 4 goals for, if you're more of an actual goals instead of expected. When those two have been on the ice at 5-on-5, 4 goals for the Ottawa Senators and only 1 goal against. Okay. And if you compare that to, for example, they've played 45 minutes, Chychrun and Sanderson, and it's 1 goal for and 4 goals against. So if you look at just the historic numbers of Jacob Chychrun with the Ottawa Senators, and you want to get him in a position to succeed, he has his best numbers with Eric Brandstrom in limited ice time. With Thomas Chabot, Jacob Chychrun has 52% of the expected goals and a 54% of the shot share at 5-on-5. So I think even from a chemistry standpoint, this makes sense. We'll see if DJ Smith agrees. The Senators are off today on Wednesday. They'll return to practice tomorrow ahead of a flight to Columbus, taking on a Blue Jackets team that, they aren't very good, but guess what? They've won a few games, 3 of their last 4 games. So they are on a peak for them. They're 7-12-4. This is definition no excuses, though. You cannot lose in Columbus. You're setting yourself up for a very big mountain to climb in the month of December.
Yeah, it's not a must-win game, but it's one of those things where you're like, okay, if you can't win this one, how much faith do we really have moving forward?
A cannot lose, and I don't want to hear the canon at all in Columbus. No. We'll have more of a game day preview for you tomorrow. Still working on a time with Mark Mathot, maybe the busiest man in Manotick right now, and we'll have a game day preview for you as well on Friday. Tomorrow's episode will come out bright and early. We're going to be recording that one 8 o'clock in the morning. So for practice updates, make sure you're following along at SensCentral on Twitter. All right, we've got a great Citizen coming up, and we're going to wrap up today's show by discussing Patrick Kane coming to the Atlantic Division. And, great, his first game with the Detroit Red Wings could be against the Ottawa Senators. That's all next. You're listening to Locked On Sens.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at eBay Motors. Guys, there's 3 things that are key to winning trophy: passion, drive, and patience. That's what brings it home and keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. It's simple, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not burning cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into MVP and bring home that W. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Check it out today, guys. eBay Motors.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Farm to Fork Delivery. Go visit farmtoforkdelivery.ca and check out all the great premium meat and seafood that is available to you in Ottawa, anywhere in Ontario, anywhere in Quebec, and even to our friends up in Nunavut. Now, farmtoforkdelivery.ca, it's the number 2. Think Artem Zub, and think great deals with elite quality products. Go look at their average 5-star reviews on Google. And also, this is the time of year where you want to be outside less. Well, guess what? Farm to Fork Delivery takes the convenience to new levels. They have an app that tracks how close your delivery is coming, and it's free delivery right to your door. So stay in your pajamas and just get ready for all the great food that's coming to your door. You ever want to have friends over, but you're like, oh, I don't want to go grocery shop for everybody, this, that. Well, guess what? Have everything ready to go, individually vacuum packed in your freezer, and all the great sales online as well. They can be added to 10% off because you're a listener of Locked On Senators. That's LOSP 10 for 10% off. And I'm looking at the steakhouse special right now, 8 Wagyu strip loin steaks and 8 grass-fed ribeyes for almost 50% off. So you can go check that out. Get the Healthy Pack seafood bundle that has cod, that has salmon. It's awesome. And it's $150 for all the great food that you get. 4 pieces of sockeye salmon, 2 pieces of albacore tuna half loins, and 4 pieces of Pacific cod. So don't get caught with the grocery store meats. You don't want that. Go to farm2forkdelivery.ca. Taste the farm to fork difference. You will never go back to grocery store meats. All right, let's get to this week's SensCentral Citizen. Here is Scott Crosman. All right, we now welcome on this week's SensCentral Citizen. The irony, I show up wearing an East Coast lifestyle t-shirt. We're going all the way out west. Scott Crosman joins us from beautiful Victoria, British Columbia. Scott, welcome to Locked On Senators. How are you doing today, sir?
I am really good. Ross, Pilsy, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Dude, it's our pleasure to have you. Are you from BC originally, from Ottawa? Where'd your love from the Senators come from?
I've been all around. So story there, I used to live in Europe as a kid, right? I was there for 6 years, came back, moved to Kingston, Ontario. Sort of right in between Toronto and Ottawa, right?
Yeah.
I was sort of looking to follow a hockey team. And I believe that was the year that Ron Tugnut finally came in and really helped. It was Jacques Martin, Ron Tugnut came in, everything fell into place, and fell in love with the team then.
Yeah, that's a good time to get into it for sure. Now, you mentioned you grew up in Europe, so did you have other family members that kind of introduced you to hockey, or did you play growing up, or attached to how did you become a Sens fan? How did you also become a hockey fan in general?
Oh, Army brat, right? And if anybody who grows up in a
Okay.
military base knows you're either playing sports or you get into drugs, So I played hockey.
Good choice.
Did that, yeah. Took that to Germany, took it to England, came back to Canada, and just played my whole life, right?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So you jump on with Ron Tugnut. Is that like right around when they made the playoffs for the first time back in '97?
That was it.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. So you had some early heartbreaks right off the bat then.
Yeah, it's never been fun, has it? But well, no, it's been a lot of fun. But we've never really had that happy ending. It's I'm sure it's coming, boys. Just a few more years.
Just a few more years. Well, we'll be anxiously waiting. Who outside of Ron Tugnut, who were a few of the other players right off the bat where you resonated with them being like favorite players on your favorite team type thing?
There was always Ron Tugnut. He always gave me that confidence whenever he rolled in, And I know you boys say this is cheating, but I'm not so sure, because like Daniel Alfredsson, right? He was never Daniel Alfredsson until recently in Senators lore. Back in the late '90s, early 2000s, man, he was my guy, and I can remember reading, Bruce Gary, all kinds of articles at the time, because that was the only media we had, where people would say, well, I guess we got to trade this guy, right? And I remember even thinking at the time, no, he's the guy. He is always the hardest working guy on the ice, and he's a superstar. You can't trade him, and fortunately they didn't, and then he became Daniel Alfredsson after that. So like it was definitely him. It was Ron Tugnut. It was heartbreaking when he was traded to Pittsburgh, which that worked out great, right?
Hey, we got a Hall of Famer back technically.
I guess.
Tom Brasso might have been the I don't want to say worst Ottawa Senators edition, but certainly he didn't really care about the team. I think that's probably fair to say.
Best thing you could say, he was entertaining, wasn't he?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, but you look at Ron Tugnut, he went on to have a couple more decent seasons there. A .917 save percentage with a expansion team in Columbus. After, he only played 7 games in Pittsburgh after that trade, 1-for-1 for Tom Barrasso. But yeah, he's always going to be, a guy who fans remember fondly. Just that photo of Wade Redden jumping into his arms when they finally clinched the playoffs for the first time. Like, that's as historic a moment in franchise history. It's up there with, I know the younger generation probably wouldn't, put those two on the same level, but Alfie's photo right after, scoring the goal to get them to the cup final, right? Can't make the cup final without making the playoffs first. So the first time you do that as a franchise, I mean, they had some pretty lean years before that, but Scott, you skipped those, eh? You skipped those expansion years of 12 wins.
Lucky me.
Now, do you find it difficult to keep following the Sens on the West Coast, or it's not too bad for you? You like those 4:00 starts?
It's a thing of beauty. I have 3 kids as well, right? So what winds up happening is I avoid Twitter, I avoid anything from 4:00 on, just focus on the kids. I put them to bed at 8:00, and then I sit beside them just as they're falling asleep. I put on the hockey game, and then I just get to fast forward the commercials, right?
Whoa,
there you go. And you are disciplined to watching the whole game. You don't ever stray from it and say, "Hey, I know the Sens have a big second period. The first period didn't really go that well."
Nobody doesn't
never
know.
Have a big second.
He doesn't
period.
know. He's got the horse blinders on all day from 4:00 on.
But that's what I mean. Like, you're able to stay disciplined and not get any kind of infiltration of highlights or updates.
Being an Ottawa Senators fan requires discipline. Like 25.
Yeah, no kidding.
25 years of this, and yeah, I can work through a rough period or two.
That's
an all-time quote. Being a Senators fan requires discipline. That's awesome. Yeah. So
those second periods, man, I gotta I'll get through it.
The second periods are absolutely like astounding, but isn't astounding kind of have like a positive connotation? Because the Senators' second periods are anything but. If you look at the Senators in the second period, goals against in the second period, the Ottawa Senators have allowed 29, tied for the most in the National Hockey League. And oh yeah, they have 4 and 5 games in hand on everybody else on this list. They've only scored 19 goals, so a -10 goal differential in the second period. Have you skipped any third periods, Scott?
not a one.
I love it.
I mean, I would have wanted to have skipped the last one, but now here we are.
Yeah.
Now, are you able to get out to Vancouver for the yearly game that the Ottawa Senators are there? I know pretty much all our West Coast people, they've got that date marked on their calendar, and whatever pilgrimage, well, you got to hop on a ferry to get over there. Whatever travel necessary, they usually make it. Are you in that group?
Well, don't tell anyone because it's going to be some Christmas gifts, but
ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you've just told everyone now.
But they won't recognize him because he's got the Movember stash, right? So
yeah.
He can just say it wasn't me.
Some mystery man with a Dick Dashley mustache is taking his kids. Don't tell anyone.
If there was going to be a jersey under the Christmas tree as well for your kids, who would you have for them to look up to? Is there a certain player that you'd want to get on the back?
Oh man, there's so few bad choices, right? There's something about Jake Sanderson, man. He'll be there a while. He wears really cool number. He's a quiet guy, does his job. He's works hard, says his prayers, goes to bed at 8, and plays a hell of a hockey game.
Yeah, when he's not scrapping Matthew Tkachuk.
Yes, well, I mean, yeah, you gotta scrap once in a while, right? Take it seriously. I
hope I didn't spoil that for you. Maybe you haven't watched that game yet.
Oh, come on,
Has there ever? I actually want to follow up on that. And Pillsy loves the jersey question. He might get into a separate one on that. But is there moments when, because you said the kids are falling asleep next to you while you're watching the game, where there's like a big fist pump or a holy crap, ref, you suck, where you're waking them up? Or are you pretty disciplined with that too?
No discipline whatsoever. There have been a few times where they've been on the verge of sleep and damn it,
I like how that's the automatic one that comes up. It's like, yeah, that sums up the season.
Well, no, I mean, good or bad, I will emote and then I'll wake the kids up. So regardless of good or bad, I'm having that feeling. I should have been a little better there.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
that's fair. Now, looking at how this season has gone so far, Scott, thankfully November is over. Do you have a lot of faith that this team can turn things around once they get a couple of healthy bodies back? Ridley Gregg's been skating. Thomas Chabot able to be activated off LTIR Friday. Like, are you kind of like it's darkest before the dawn type situation here, or do you think this is just the beginning of the continuing slide here?
It will get better. Will it get better this year? I don't know, man. I wish if I had that answer, I would be employed by an NHL club. But It will. It has to. I mean, they're so young, and they're all learning as you go, right? And there's that learning curve. I mean, when does the real steep part hit? I guess it's now, right? I mean, is it going to be enough time this season? I hope. I just don't have that answer. Will it in the next couple seasons? Yeah. I gotta be optimistic, right? I mean,
there we go.
You have to. It's if you're not, what are you doing here, right?
Seriously, what's the one thing that's holding them back, though? Is there one thing that you've pinpointed that you're getting frustrating just seeing over and over again?
Well, I mean, it's been harped on by everybody, but just that defensive responsibility, the defensive passion, I was talking about Jacques Martin earlier. Like, is he the answer? A lot of people say so. I can't say, but something like that really seemed to help all those years ago. Maybe something similar can help this time.
So we're talking about how you have a military background. Discipline's a big part of that. How do you teach discipline? Because that's what comes down to a lot of defensively, is being in the right place at the right time, and the passion, as you mentioned, of wanting to be as efficient defensively as you are when you have the puck on your stick.
Well, I mean, two different ways to go about it, right? Really, present a picture of what discipline looks like and try to live up to that. But if you want to go military, just scream a lot.
Well, DJ doesn't scream behind the bench.
Oh, there we go. I think we've identified the issue.
Yeah, we got to get DJ some more lozenges, make sure that he's not having the throat issues, he's not losing his voice behind the bench, and maybe that'll boost morale here, bump up the volume a little bit.
Yeah, the beatings continue until morale improves.
Yes. Yeah, now that sounds like a military family discipline motto right there.
Yep. Hey, shared hardship brings the boys together.
I love it. So you mentioned this year you're going to the game. I'd imagine over the course of time you've been to a few games in Vancouver when they play the Sens. Is it as much as it looks on TV? Because I'd say out of all visiting arenas, it might be the most noticeable in Vancouver. Are there lots of Sens jerseys around the concourse? And what's the vibe like when you're at those games? Because Pillsy and I, we've sworn we're getting out to one of those.
Yes.
The timing, obviously, right over the holidays doesn't work this year, but we need to get out there. It just looks amazing.
This will be my first experience at the
Nice.
at the Vancouver Arena. I've been down to Seattle a couple of times, though. I took my oldest boy there last year.
Nice.
Boy, that was a lot of fun. Brady Tkachuk got a pretty sweet goal, but they got killed. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what happened in that game.
What,
I feel like every time they play Seattle, it's a weird game. Like the one time Timmy gets a hat trick, but they lose 8-4.
Yeah.
That's Timmy having 4 points and calling it his worst game of his career.
Yeah, oh man, what a beauty, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. The no, my memory is about 3-1, 4-1. It was just
it was a loss. It was a loss.
Yeah, it was a loss. With Brady getting the one goal, and it's pretty sweet. I mean, as you know, he stands up when everybody else is sitting down. But
yeah. He really does. And you went the wrong year because they got the win in Seattle last year.
Oh, so 2 years ago then.
So it was 2 years ago. Yeah. And it was a 4-2 loss. You're right there, April 18th. And Brady Tkachuk. And wow, this is a great one. You got to see Nick Holden score, assisted by Nikita Zaitsev. That doesn't happen. You might be the only person who's seen that live.
If only I could remember. It must have been super memorable, I guess.
Well, it was right on the heels, actually, and obviously I'm not doing this off memory, but we grabbed the box score here. So Brady scores a minute into the second period, or they're already down 1-0 at this point. Then 2 minutes later, Nick Holden scores. Sens are up 2-1. You must have been just euphoric. That's why you don't remember the second goal. And then 4 minutes later, they give up the lead, and then they give up then they start trailing before the end of the second period, and then they give up an empty netter in the third period. So
yeah, good times, I guess. But
how's the arena in Seattle, though? It looks cool on TV.
Incredible! What an in-game experience. Like I know a lot of guys been to Vegas and seen those ones, and I haven't yet. But like I remember sitting there going, like this has to be on par because this is so great. My the giant like screens up in the corners of the arena, and we're right by the water, right? So like one of the giant screens just shows this giant eyeball, from a crack in outside the arena, and freaked my kid out, right? It's the greatest thing.
Hope you're enjoying our SensCentral Citizen conversation with Scott. We'll get right back to it, but first, a word from our friends at Game Time.
Game Time is the official ticketing app of the Locked On Podcast Network. And why don't we throw it to someone that's recently used Game Time and had an excellent experience? I'm going to call upon Ross Levitan. How was your experience using the Game Time app for yesterday's Jets game?
It was so easy. It was unreal. So we decided that we were going to go to the game at 4 p.m. We left at 5:30. At 4:30, I said, well, let's take a peek at Game Time and look what tickets are available. And there was a flash deal. Game Time has flash deals available to you. We got elite seats for the lowest price. I was literally the gold judge in last night's game. I was the line judge. 4 rows up. You know what that cost me? $70 Canadian. It's always in US dollars, easy to convert, easy to use. 2 taps, bang, bang. And I use code LOCKEDONNHL to get my $20 off my first ticket purchase. So that's the beauty of Game Time, is you can see from the photos online. I knew exactly what I was getting into before I pulled trigger on these tickets. My buddies were so fired up. They're like, you get a discount too? They said, oh yeah, Locked On NHL, $20 off. You know we're a goalie-friendly show. You know I had to be right near Connor Hellebuck and Jake Ottinger. So go, concerts, sports, tickets, everything you need, you can get with the Game Time app. Showing a little in-game action there. Yeah, unreal seats, lowest prices, guaranteed. Pillsy, it's all at Game Time.
Yep, and that's the thing. You don't have to plan months in advance. Ross and his buddies were on the way to the game, and they got tickets. That's how you do it. And not only did they get tickets, they got great tickets, and they got a good deal. That is the Game Time way. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
Today's episode is also brought to you by the Glebe Central Pub, 779 Bank Street, right in the heart of the Glebe. I mentioned that I was at Jets versus Stars last night. Well, guess what? I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Sens Leafs, December 7th. I will be on the Glebe Central Pub shuttle. Bunch of high school buddies. It's going to get rowdy. We're there for one reason, and that's to have a good time, a better time than Leaf fans. So we're going to start our night at the Glebe Central Pub, and you can too for many occasions, not only for live music, for open mic night, all that great stuff, but the Sens shuttle. Make it easy on yourself to go to the CTC. Just get on the Sens shuttle with Sue. She brings you right where you need to be. Low price of $17 round trip. You can also buy game tickets through the Glebe Central Pub website, glebecentralpub.com, Sens bus. But make sure when you're buying tickets for the shuttle that you go to the game underneath. So it'll say game tickets, but that's not the shuttle. You can still buy it through that, but scroll down, and on each game, you can actually click on the logos and it'll bring you to the shuttle. So go there, have dinner, great times. It leaves an hour and 15 minutes before games, and the bus will pick you up right where they drop you off. It's really easy, takes you right back to the Glebe Central Pub. So go check them out at 779 Bank Street and the Glebe Central Pub shuttle. Send shuttle for $17 at glebecentralpub.com. The vibes are free at GCP, so go visit them, 779 Bank Street, and let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. All right, now back to our conversation with Scott Crosman.
Yeah, Seattle's a great spot. I'm glad they got a team there, because and that I hope that rivalry between them and Vancouver really heats up, because man, those are two cities right there, right close to each other.
You want to talk about atmosphere, though? Oh, nothing beats mid 2000s Corel Center.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I get lonely, I'll throw on the Game 3 Stanley Cup Final pregame. Like it was, you couldn't even hear yourself think before warmups, and like that wasn't even just obviously Stanley Cup Finals. It's going to be even more noted. But Scott, like you're saying, even like regular season, it's such a passionate hockey fan base. They just want to see a winner.
Oh, one of my favorite memories watching the Ottawa Senators. I still have a Zdeno Chara jerseys hanging up in my garage right now from that experience. Wish I had the A, because I had an A on it at the time. And
which one is it? Black, white, red.
It was white, traditional.
Classic
with a red stripe on the bottom, like just a thing of beauty. I went to one game that year, and I'll never forget it. It was the year that Alexei Yashin came back to Ottawa.
Okay.
After getting traded, after that holdout, right? Every time he came near a puck, like 20,000 people just booing. It was incredible. One time he fell over, kind of flipped over at one point, and like, have you ever heard 20,000 people laugh? It's the greatest thing.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like the energy of a booing crowd and everyone is on the same page is almost as good, or could be even better than celebrating a goal or a win, because it's just like the couple nights ago in Florida when that disallowed goal happens. We said it. I don't think we've heard boos that loud probably since that game you were at with Yashin returning.
And Ottawa got the 5-2 win in that game.
They were good boos. I can remember Marian Hossa that game getting some pretty sweet love as well. It was, man, what a game. That's what we're getting back to, right? Is like those core memories, and we're getting there, you know.
Yeah, well, guest on Locked On Senators, OG guest, got a goal in that game too. Andre Waugh, right after Christmas, December 2001, and Ottawa scored 3 unanswered in the third period. A pair of shorthanded empty netters from Wade Redden and Radek Bonk. Bonk, second of the game. Love these old school names. If there was a best chance, because you've been in it since they started making playoffs, I love asking this question, and I'll bring it down to 4 teams, and people in the comments can let us know as well. Which team should have won the Stanley Cup? The 2003 team that lost to New Jersey in Game 7 of the conference finals, the 2006 team that lost in really tough fashion to Buffalo there, Pominville going around Alfie, the 2007 team that got the closest, or we'll throw in 2017 just because they were a goal away from the Cup final.
That's a tough one, boys. Can I?
I'm not here to ask easy questions. Come on.
Yeah, we've lost all the softballs at you. Now it's bottom of the ninth. We got the closer at the 100-mile fastball in now.
Oh, they were all equally heartbreaking, but like the strongest team, that one from the 90s, I think. Okay. Yeah, I think they had it, man. Like so it was. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was the late 90s conference finals. Jeff Friesen.
Yes.
No, that's 03. That was the first.
Oh, that's 03.
Okay, 03.
That team was ridiculous. That they won the President's Trophy that year. They were the best team in the National Hockey League. They had a 52-21 8-1 record. That's 113 points. I don't know if DJ Smith has 113 points in 4 years coaching this team.
Yeah, I would bet no. Yeah, I bet the under on that one.
Not a math guy, but yeah, that 03 team. I mean, you can just look up and down the team, and they just had so much talent. I know some people maybe listening to this were even born in 2003, and that's a wild thing to even think about. But you just look like their right wing depth was Hossa, Alfredson, and Havlat on one side up front.
Can you imagine Martin Havlat in his prime as a third line right winger? It's insane.
Ridiculous.
One of the most skilled guys we ever had.
19-year-old Jason Spezza, 21 points in 33 games. He was starting to find his rhythm. We can now confidently say 2 Hall of Famers on the team with Daniel Alfredson and Zdeno Chara will be one. 3. Marian Hossa.
Say, don't forget Hossa. Yeah.
Hossa led the team that year, 45 goals, 80 points in 80 games. And yeah, they just had absolutely everything. And I'm looking at some unsung heroes on that team too, like Shane Knighty and Curtis Lasician, Brian Pothier, and the goaltending from Patrick Lalime, Martin Prusek. And that's the year that Ray Emery made his NHL debut as well. So even he was starting to get some taste NHL action. But Jeff Friesen, just brutal. Game 6 though in that series was unreal. Wasn't that the Chris Phillips overtime winner where he just found the pot of gold right at the top of the crease and jammed it in?
I watched that one. On TV, and I remember I was working at a convenience store at the time while I was in university, right? So this was in Peterborough. A lot of Toronto fans in Peterborough. Yeah. Was one guy, Toronto fan, but he's the coolest guy. He brought me in a television. And I could just watch like CRT like on the floor, and
nice.
It went overtime for so long that I had it plugged in, and I had the whole place closed. The lights were off. And I'm just sitting there on the floor of this convenience store watching this game going to OTs. Right? It was the greatest. But man, you talking about all those names? Like you're talking every single one of those sub 2% puck doku score names. Like just
easily
just beauty. Yeah.
Oh, I haven't even gotten into my real bag of tricks. Otherwise, I'd bring up the fact that Jody Hull played 70 games for the team that year.
Whoa.
Oh, the whale, Jody Hull. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man, there were some old school names, and man, they had a bit of everything like that. That was kind of the start of the shutdown pair of Phillips and Volchenkov were in the mix there, and you had Mike Fisher as a 22-year-old, and Oh man, dude. So many great memories from that. They need to start making some new ones here because like you can have great players in the regular season, but you talk like this about teams that have success in the playoffs and teams that are able to, get over the hump, for lack of a better term. So you think it's coming though, eh, Scott? Like you think this group of players can get it done right now?
I mean, it has to, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, am I just one of those guys that's fooling themselves? Maybe, but I'd rather be this than the alternative.
That's the thing. Like if you don't have hope as a Senators fan, you got nothing,
Yeah, what do you got?
unfortunately. And
Nothing.
that's the thing. Like I want to be in 20 years from now, I want to be sitting down. We'll give you a call, Scott, and we'll be like, man, remember that playoff run in 2026? Brady Tkachuk lifting the team against the Toronto Maple Leafs in round 1. That was incredible. Like I want to have those nostalgic stories for this core. That's
Corpus going psycho mode,
Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
I saw our guy Jack Richardson just posted this morning and it blew my mind. In January, Thomas Chabot is turning 27 years old.
Yeah.
I know he's the elder statesman of the rebuild kind of core.
The new era,
Yeah, the new era, exactly, because he was acquired. He almost played in that 2017 playoff when they had those injury troubles. But in terms of the guys who are locked up long-term, he's the elder statesman of it. But still 27, like, you're in your prime, man. It's time, really. And
it's now or never.
Yeah, the window is starting to close, and it just only
No.
opened.
No.
What are you doing, Pilsy? You're killing me.
Come on, dude. Where's positive Pilsy? Dig him out of the rubble.
I don't know where that guy is, honestly.
What did that third period do to you, man?
Yeah,
A lot.
man.
A lot.
Oh no! So busy December. The Senators go 4-4 in October, 4-5 in November. I'm not going to ask what your confidence level is because you're delusional just like me. But like, what do you think a realistic record has to be for them to be still in the hunt? Like, is this 500 still? If they're wake up January 1st and I'm not going to be exact, but if they're 17-17, whatever the case may be, are you still going to have faith that they can go on a hot streak and make a push? Or is the time now where they have to win, 9 of their next 13 or 9 of their next 14 games and put themselves into a respectable position earlier rather than later?
I mean, dark times right now. So let's throw a little positivity in there, eh?
Need it.
Good call.
Come January, if they're 500 or just over, cautiously optimistic is where I'm going to be because, hey, years upon years, right? They finished the year strong every single time.
It's true.
I mean, they got derailed by injuries last year. Imagine if they don't this year.
Imagine. Oh,
Just it's easy if you try.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Yeah, and the St. Louis Blues in 2019, they did everyone such a favor being in last place in New Year's and then winning the cup because now every team can be like, well, hey, St. Louis Blues, they were last place, they won the Stanley Cup, so there's a little shred of hope there.
I love it. There's positive Pilsy, eh?
There he is.
Yeah, shred of hope, positive Pilsy.
Yeah.
So you know what they did though? They changed their coach. They brought in Craig Berube, who went 38-19-6 to finish the year. Easy.
Huh, weird. That's funny how that works.
Yep.
Easy.
Yeah. Get the new coach bump. Hey, if we had to bring a new coach, I'm sure you guys have talked about this, but let's throw it down. Who's coming in and who's going to make the difference?
Patrick Waugh.
Yeah, I was going to say, we got the same answer with Patty Waugh. I think that would be good. Just quickly, though, you talk about new coach bump. Minnesota Wild, team that's struggling, they got a new coach, and they got the win last night. So the new coach bump is legit. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'll take Waugh any day.
Who would your call be? You want to bring in Jacques Martin?
Not necessarily as a head coach, maybe an assistant. I mean, I would again and maybe it's a cop out, but I would rely on Steve Staios to really make that call. He just he knows more than I do. He knows these people better than I do. That said, though, I wouldn't be if he made that decision to go Jacques Martin. Yeah, man, I'm all in. Whether it's head coach, assistant coach, goes Patrick Waugh. Hell yeah, I'm all in. Bruce Boudreau, why not? Give it a shot. You just never know, right?
I love it. Well, I'm also I'm just hammering you with hard questions here. If Steve Staios decides to not make a coaching move and they just kind of, middle their way to the end of the season, would you be losing faith in Steve Staios, or do you believe that for him, this is a very new process, and that it's better for him to ignore the long-term suffering from the Sens fans, which is kind of, I think, what's contributing, because we've seen this story over and over again. But for him, with kind of a new perspective, would you give him the benefit of, hey, let's get to an off season, or can they not afford to waste this season?
I mean, a lot of gray area in that question. So let's say this, right? Okay, long-term perspectives here. There's different ways you can look at that, right? So long-term for us, well, it's been a hard 5-6 years, right? A little longer than that, 2017.
Yeah. 7, who's counting?
Yeah. Long term for him, he's thinking future long term, right? If he's holding out, he's thinking the next 5 years, the next 10 years, right? And maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need somebody who's thinking not right now. Maybe we need somebody who's going to think, well, who's right for the next decade. As you say, Thomas Chabot, 27 years old, but yeah, that's where the gray area sits. I mean, once again, hey, I gotta err on the side of positivity.
I love that about you.
So let's do it. If he holds out, why not? Like, we'll DJ seems like a pretty sweet guy. He seems like a really nice guy. Give him the benefit, see what he can do for the season. If it winds up being all for naught, then so be it. But let's get the right guy in next year. Then let's little faith in our new guy here. Steve Staios.
That's the thing. I think Sens fans are impatient, as they should be. It's been a tough stretch here for a long time, but Steve Staios isn't watered down by the tears of Sens fans just yet, right? Like, he's only coming into this, he's looking ahead. So the Sens fans are losing their minds here, but Steve Staios, he's coming in with a fresh look of opinions and different perspectives, and he's not going to do anything rash just because all of this is building at once into a terrible start yet again.
I love how you put that. It's we're just going to grind him down right over the years, us fans. It's
eventually.
Buckle up, Steve. Hashtag pray for Steve Staios.
Yes.
Pills, you got anything else for Scott? This has been a lot of fun, and everybody can go follow Scott for more on Twitter at @SCrossman. Really appreciate you, Scott. Pillsy, any final questions?
We had a little bit of jersey talk there. You mentioned you had a Zdeno Chara jersey. Any other fun Senators jerseys in your closet?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked.
Nice.
So out here in the West, right? There's a lot of guys who move out here, or a lot of people who get Senators as jerseys as gifts and then don't know what the heck to do with them. So if you're scouring, used Victoria, Facebook Marketplace,
true,
$30. I got me a Chris Neil jersey.
Nice.
The not the Senegoth one. What would you call the one after Senegoth with the red?
The 3D.
The 3D. That's
it.
The
3D.
I got a pretty sweet 3D Chris Neil jersey. The week that guy's jersey was retired, hey, why not? Let's do it. I went out and got that one.
Yeah.
I got 3 kids, so I can't be buying jerseys left and right. But
if you find a deal like that, you're gonna go for it.
Can't afford not to.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to look Chris Neil in the eye and be like, I had the opportunity to buy your jersey for $30, but I said no.
To be fair, I wouldn't look Chris Neil in the eye anyway.
Okay, so you mentioned your all-time favorites, Rod Tugnut, Daniel Alfredsson. You mentioned Jake Sanderson, a kind of guy that you'd want your kids to be wearing his jersey. And you mentioned it, like the vibes at the CTC, the Corel Center, Scotiabank Arena. Am I missing any other names? The Palladium. You can go to a long list of an amazing atmosphere games, but really you won't get to that level that it used to be at until the team is consistently competitive. And every Sens fan that joined us to vent after the last loss, everyone who's bought tickets to games over the years, that's all they want. And I think that there's a fan base it's well-deserved, and we appreciate all your insight on this. And it's been great to connect with you after such a long time. I hate that it had been like a December past, if not 2 Decembers past. I'm really glad we got time to do this. It won't be the last time, Scott. It's been great getting to catch up and get to know you. And I love the story, too, about how your kids are going to sleep, and there you are. I can just picture it, looking at the phone, watching the game on repeat. So we really appreciate your time. Welcome to this being a SensCentral Citizen, and we will do this again down the road. Thanks for doing this, man.
I look forward to it. Thank you, boys, very much.
Tic Taps to Scott for joining us. Really fun conversation, and we put out the bat signal on Twitter at SensCentral. So make sure you're following along, and I'd even turn the notifications on because you never know when opportunities like that will come up. And Scott not only stepped up to the plate, but he hit a Tim Stützle-esque grand slam. Really enjoyed having Scott on. Really fun conversation with him, and he brought some positivity in a time of need for Sens fans.
Yeah, positive Pills. He hasn't been around much, so it's good to bring on that from an external source in a SensCentral Citizen. Scott, an absolute beauty. Thanks for coming to the call, coming to the bat signal.
So, Pilsy, Patrick Kane signs with the Detroit Red Wings. 1 year, $2.75 million. Is there an alternate universe where he joins the Ottawa Senators if they still have Alex DeBrincat?
I don't think so. I mean, sometimes it's good to lure that old teammate, bring that chemistry back. But I don't know, Ross. I can't see Patrick Kane being an Ottawa guy, personally.
No, he's too Showtime for us. Goes to another original 6 team. He's played for 3 teams, half of the original 6. For Chicago, then New York, and now he's with the Detroit Red Wings. A lot of people forget the Ottawa Senators were actually part of the original 5 back in the early 1900s, but whatever, Patrick. I'm actually not too concerned about this. I think that the Detroit Red Wings have other needs that aren't adding another scorer. They seem to have no trouble scoring as it is right now. Of course, you add a guy with that pedigree, that resilience, but I've also seen some comparables of guys who have come back from the same injury, a hip resurfacing surgery. I mean, Nicholas Backstrom got through 6 games and then just pulled the plug and said, I can't do this anymore. And I think there's some other examples from different sports where it's a tough one to get back from, but that guy's Showtime. He's a human highlight reel at his peak. So it's a good buy low get for Steve Yzerman, no doubt. And Pilsy, you were noting that his first game might be against the Sens.
Yeah, it's very, very possible because he was mentioning, and our guys at Locked On Red Wings,
his first game with the Rangers was against the Sens.
Oh, yeah, true. And that went well for the Ottawa Senators. So maybe we can keep that going. We'll bring Brass back for that one. How about that? That's a good idea. But he was saying, Patrick Kane, that he's targeting a return up against Buffalo, which is December 5th. The Ottawa Senators play the Red Wings December 9th. So it's likely going to be one of his first games, depending on if they keep him out or not. So that's going to be interesting. But Ross, I'm actually a little bit concerned about this because Patty Kane, sure, with the hip injury, that's a big, big deal. But this guy's hockey IQ is just off the charts. And then getting him back with DeBrincat, like on the power play, I think is where Patty Kane's going to make a difference for the Red Wings. So obviously hockey's a better place with Patty Kane here. Just wish he wasn't in our division.
Yeah, seriously. And it's just, you know what? The rich get richer. But I've got good news for you, Pillsy. We'll wrap up the show with a little positivity. And before I forget, Spotify Wrapped season is here. Please
that was going to be my last thought.
Please send in your Spotify Wrapped if we're on it. Don't send it to us if we're not on it. Okay?
Yeah, like I know maybe you guys don't think it's that big of a deal, but that honestly, seeing that just makes my day. Sometimes I'm like, am I just slugging through these Sens losses for nothing? But seeing people not only like the show but are listening to thousands of hours. I think our guy Vic Gill right now has the record that we've seen. What is it, Ross? Oh, we got a tie?
Yeah. Well, we've Zach. Zach's the winner, man. Zach is in our top 1% of fans, 9,318 minutes, whereas Vic has 9,287. So we've got a tight race for number 1. Can you beat it? Let us know. We got to see that. Pilsy, awesome. Spotify Wrap. I'll save this for my final thoughts, but my Spotify Wrap for music, you're going to have to guess who my number 1 was. Okay. That's what we'll put as our final thoughts here coming up on the show. But 10 games last night. And guess what, Pilsy? Another Atlantic Division game that goes to overtime in a shootout.
I know. Yeah, of course. Like it's beyond a joke now. It's a consistent trend.
Yeah, it really is. Now, hey, the Tampa Bay Lightning lost in regulation. About time. Thank you to Michael Carcone. #Sens Abroad. Opened the scoring in that game. And then he closed the scoring and got the insurance goal as well. Michael Carcone has 9 goals. Belleville Sens legend. 9 goals this year, Pilsy.
He'd be second on the team.
Pretty amazing for my Arizona Coyotes. All right, Pillsy, final thoughts on today's show?
Yeah, I'll just echo again. It really makes my day seeing that we're on people's Spotify Wrapped list. So keep sending those in. That's awesome for me, and I can't thank you enough. And it's honestly an honor to be a part of people's everyday routine and the commutes, and having the Sens community embrace us so much. So thank you.
Did you do your Spotify Wrapped?
I'm actually not a Spotify guy. Not that I'm against Spotify. I just use Apple. So my Spotify Wrapped is not accurate at all.
Who do you think my number one artist was?
I'm going to say Morgan Wallen.
Number 2.
Oh, okay. T Swift.
Yes.
Got it. Nice.
Drake, number 3, Chris Stapleton, number 4, and Stevie Wonder, number 5. And that's probably because my top song was For Once in My Life. Absolute banger, by the way. For once in my life. I'm in the top 5% of Taylor Swift fans, apparently. So I'm just going to say Rach stole my phone.
Because that is a competitive market, Ross. Damn.
Competitive. But also, I was thinking about this. A lot of people have listened to her at least once. Right. So there's got to be some people who just like scroll through and aren't big Taylor Swift fans. So that have listened to her once. Right. So that means that the more people listen, the more stretch out. Anyways. Yeah. I listen.
I don't know if your math is right on that one.
Whatever. I'm a big fan. She rules.
Yeah. Hey, you will not hear me publicly saying anything bad about T Swift.
Yeah. Otherwise you're going to hear it. What's your favorite T Swift song then?
Cruel Summer. You got to go Cruel Summer. That's a good one.
That is a good one. I like that. I'll save mine. People can guess in the comments. I'm sure it'll be very rational and reasonable, but it'll be great. We always love all the comments. Hey, the Sens might not be great, but the passion of this fan base is unmatched, and they'll be back on the ice. And Thomas Chabot coming back, I really don't think you can understate his return and hopefully the impact that it'll have on this team. For today, though, we say goodbye. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.